Okay. First of all, we would like to say shalom to all our brothers and sisters. We have a very important broadcast today, this Sabbath. It took us a while to come on because right before we came on, key information was founded. So we had to just double check the information to make sure it was right. And the lesson is still ongoing, but I thought we would give you what we have up until this time. Now the lesson will be based on the times according to the Most High. Also, we're going to give the true understanding on holy days. Now, first of all, the brother name was Jermaine, right? In Florida. First of all, a brother reached out to me that's working under Brother and Elder Fresnel in Florida. And he had some detailed information to relay concerning the times. Now, it was information we went over before, but he's seen a conflict. All right? Now, we're not one, if we see a conflict, we're not going to ignore it and say, well, we know everything. We're going to examine the conflict because the Bible says we see through a glass dimly. And the Most High has given us time under grace to get things correct. Now, while he didn't have all the information, what he did, he went into the calendar to see that it wasn't meshing with the calendar that the Most High gave us from the beginning. And the key things he went into, I had to study. So we went and studied it, and it led us down a path for the last couple of weeks. And it also, it's humbling in a way through the Spirit of the Most High, because the understanding that the Most High bestowed on us through this teaching is opening a window for us to be on the same clock as the Most High and the angels. It's also, we went into the research to show you how and who went through great lengths to separate us from our original calendar and from our holy days. It was a mission by the Roman Empire upheld by the Western worlds today. The Western World Empire. This is of great significance scripturally and religiously. Now, some people might ask, well, and say, well, it doesn't matter what time we're in. It doesn't matter what day we're in. It doesn't matter what day we worship. Well, Christians may say that. I'll follow God every day of the week, so I'll worship on Sunday. But let's see what the Bible says. Let's go to Hosea, the 6th chapter. So the scriptures we're going into today is to get the right time, or the understanding of time, or who distorted time according to the Most High. Let's get Hosea 6:1.
Hosea chapter 6 verse 1.
Go ahead.
Come, and let us return unto the Most High.
Come and let us return unto the Most High. Read.
For he hath torn.
For he hath torn.
And he will heal us.
And he will heal us. So the Most High torn us. That's why we're in the condition we are today as a people. That's why the other nations have been ruling over us. He took his hedge from over his people for a time. But he will what?
And he will heal us.
And he will heal us. Go ahead.
He hath smitten.
The Most High have smitten the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And he will bind us up.
But yet he will bind us up. Read.
Verse 2. After 2 days will he revive us.
After what?
After 2 days will he revive us.
After 2 days from the time Christ's crucifixion, or excuse me, from Christ's time on the earth, he was given a time period in which the Most High would begin to bind us up or to awaken us. And that begins with Christ's birth. Read.
After 2 days will he revive us.
After 2 days from the time of Christ, the children of Israel will begin to awaken from their sleep. All right? What is that 2 days? Hold that and get 2 Peter 3 and 8.
This is the book of 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8.
Go ahead.
But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing.
Be not ignorant of this one thing.
That one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years. And 1,000 years as one day.
The Bible says 1 day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is 1 day. So when it tells us in Hosea, the 6th chapter, from Christ's time, in 2 days will he revive us, it was speaking of 2,000 years. All right? So Satan understands how much time he have to rule within this earth. So we've used technology and linked in with the Roman Empire and the Gentiles to keep us asleep while he planned our demise, which the Bible calls Jacob's trouble. On top of that, they're looking to get into the heavens through the NASA program and the space program and use their technology that was built on earth to actually fight against the Most High. But we know that the Most High and Christ have a trick for him. Let's go to Matthew 24.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 24, 24 and 22.
Go ahead.
And except those days should be shortened.
See that? So originally, he had 2,000 years. So since Satan and the elite and the Gentiles knew how much time they had, they set a bar in place in which they would exterminate a number of people from this earth within the time they believed they had, which was 2,000 years from Christ. Read.
And except those days should be shortened.
But except the Most High shortened those days that was given to these governments to rule,
there should no flesh be saved.
none of us would live through this. With the GMO crops, the vaccine program, the ramping up of armies, the total degradation of society, the cross-splicing of species, the rise of what they call homosexuality, but the Bible called it sodomites and sodomy, the rise of immorality, with their sonar weapons that they're killing the animals in the sea with, sonar weapons they're using with the heart system. So this is meticulous based on the fact that their time is running out. But the Bible says, unless the Most High shorten his days,
there should no flesh be saved.
not one of us would make it through this. Unless the Most High had grace on his creation and shortened the time, none of us would be left. Read.
But for the elect's sake.
But for our sake, not for these people's sake that's out there, not for Christians' sake, not for Muslims' sake, for his elect's sake. Read.
But for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened.
He's going to shorten the time Satan have before they utterly destroy us. The Most High have given us grace to give us an opportunity to find out what's going on, to be that the few in cluster that make it through Jacob's trouble. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So some may ask out there, well, who's the elect? Let's go to Isaiah, the 45th chapter.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 4.
Go ahead.
For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect.
And Israel mine what?
Mine elect.
And Israel mine elect. So for Israel's sake, those days that Satan or the New World Order, whatever you want to call them people, the Roman Empire, Babylon, the Babylonian, spiritual Babylonians, the Romans, the Roman Catholics, we know their agenda. Their agenda is to eradicate the children of Israel. But our God said that he would shorten their time for our sake. Now, how did they distort the time? How is it we don't know what year we're in, what day we're in, what day we should be celebrating? How is it the whole earth, which was at one point of time, all separated and fragmented into different calendars and different understandings? How is that so? Well, we know that that's the spirit of the Gentiles. And also we know that Satan is over this world, because the Most High is not the author of confusion. The Most High always operated on one clock. There's only one clock. See, but if you can link into that time and be on the Most High's clock, then you can see clearly the deception. See, so what did they do? They set an alternative reality within these cities to program us and to disconnect God's people from the Most High's clock. So to speak, so that you can understand me in layman's term, to cut us off of the Most High's frequency. So that you can understand on a level that I'm speaking. Just like if you're turning a channel on the TV until you get to the right channel, now you're in sync with that particular channel. So they realize that if they can throw off our clock, they could destroy our culture. Why? Our people, the children of Israel, was different than the Gentiles. Everything we did was surrounded around commands to stay on the Most High's frequency. It was embedded within our culture. The time we eat, the time we harvest, the time we deal with holy days, the time, everything. The time that we rest, the time we work, the time we went to worship. Everything was in league or in sync with the heavenly realm. When we were operating, the angels were operating. When we were resting, the angels were resting. When we were sacrificing, yes, there is a temple in heaven. The temple in the earth is only a facsimile or a similitude of the heavenly tabernacle. So everything we did in earth, the angels and the Most High was operating in heaven. When the Gentiles came along, they broke us from that cycle. And when did it happen? Captivity. It happened a little before we were utterly destroyed, and we're going to show you how it happened. First of all, so that we don't put the cart before the horse, what cycle should we be following? Well, the Most High showed Moses, and he showed a great teacher and a great leader before the flood, Enoch. So let's go back to the beginning, before our destruction. As a matter of fact, let's start with Enoch. What we have here, now some may ask, well, who's Enoch? I don't know who Enoch is. Good question. Let's go to the book of Jude. Now, believe it or not, brothers and sisters, we can have a complete dissertation for about 3 hours on Enoch alone. Go to the book of Jude and read The 14th verse.
The book of Jude, verse 14.
Go ahead.
And Enoch also the seventh from Adam prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against it.
You can read this same verse in the book of Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9 on down. To prove to you, the disciples of Christ was reading the book of Enoch. So you must ask yourself a question. If Jude, a disciple of Christ, knew of Enoch, of course, Christ knew of Enoch. These were records of the Hebrews. We have a book of Enoch here. Why? Because it's the records of our forefathers. Now, the Roman Catholic Church will tell you don't read Enoch. And there is records of Enoch that's not legit. And they did that on purpose to keep you away from the original translation that was found in the Qumran caves. So I would suggest you stay with the original record, which is Enoch 1, translated out of R.H. Charles if you're going to read the record. All the others have been tainted. All right, that's number one. It's a record of the Hebrews. Now, why is it the Roman Catholic Church don't want you to know about Enoch? Well, in a nutshell, go to Hebrews 11 first. Hebrews 11 and 5.
It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 5.
Go ahead.
By faith Enoch was translated.
By faith Enoch was translated. This was before the flood. Go ahead.
That he should not see death.
That he should not see death.
And was not found, because the Most High had translated him.
He was not found because the Most High did what?
Had translated him.
The Most High translated him. So some may ask you, well, what happened to Enoch? What do it mean he was translated? This was before the flood. Now, I'm going to tell you why the Roman Catholic Church and your Christian church don't want to talk about Enoch. If you go into Enoch, you will identify the gods the Catholic Church burned candles to and sacrificed to. They follow the fallen angels, and the knowledge they have to get their technology came from fallen angels and their children. Okay? I can't go into the full lesson on Enoch, but I'll tell you this. They're definitely worshiping the fallen angels that's spoken of in Enoch. On your Paramount pictures, when you see the stars coming out of heaven going around the mount, Enoch speaks of that. It's the angels coming to the earth to land on Mount Hermon. Excuse me. Mount Hermon. And they would make you think these are mythological characters. That before the flood, there was all these different animals and different Tyrannosaurus Rexes and all these things. These were animals, crossbred animals. These were crossbred animals, species created from the Most High's creation that was destroyed in the flood. The same toys you may get your children, dinosaurs and all that, these are demonic animals that were killed before the floods, not 1 billion years ago, which is a bold-faced lie. Okay? Also, the gods they worship are the fallen angels. They burn candles to them, the Roman Catholic Church. One of the main angels that was bound during this time is the angel Azazel. Yes. Now, you may know him as another name. The Egyptians called him Osiris. And at the bottom of the Great Pyramid of Giza, it's in stone that Osiris is bound there. Enoch speaks of this, that the angel Uriel, the angels came down and bound him in the desert Dudael. The pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, was built before the flood. And it's a time stamp. It's not only a sundial, it's a time stamp of how long before these so-called angels will be judged. But of course, the Most High told us in Matthew 24 that their days will be short. Now listen, now you understand why your Council on Foreign Relations, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, all your elite goes to the pyramid to worship the fallen angel. See, that's why they won't let you read this information in church. It would break you free from your bondage, your spiritual bondage. Now there's more. The Most High gave Enoch a cycle from the beginning that we were not to deviate at any time. Because if we fall off of that cycle, the Gentiles would eventually overpower God's people. Let's go through the cycle according to Enoch. All right? Now, of course, the powers that be could care less if you know now. Okay? The reason they don't care anymore is because they have assumed their one world order and set up their grid, their military grid all over the earth, and have put their space weapons out in space. That was the total mission. Now that they have got a grid on the earth and got their technology in place to destroy people without hand, they could care less if you know. Okay? They could care less. But at the times when they were just getting this off the ground, they needed the majority of the population sleep. Why? Because they needed our participation. They needed us to help them build this construct. But now that their construct has been assumed, it doesn't matter anymore to them. Now, let's go into some of the cycles so we can understand what time we're in according to Enoch. And what I'll do is I'll compare it to the times we're used to following. Like, for instance, today, you notice our calendar, our so-called calendar, have what? 300 and what? They say 65 days? 365 days, which is utterly ridiculous. Then they got a leap year coming in. Then they can have daylight saving time and jump up an hour, back an hour. Right? Doing all these different things. But let's see what time it is according to the Bible. Now, of course, we had to refer back to Enoch because it says, by faith, Enoch was translated in Hebrews 11:5, that he should not see death, and was not found because the Most High had translated him. And before this translation, before the Most High took him into the heavens to tell him the judgment of the fallen angels, he had this testimony that he pleased the Most High. And for those who think that the Most High is not setting up man to judge these same angels, Paul said the same thing. Know ye not that ye will judge angels? What angels? The fallen angels. And they're still fallen. Okay? Of course, the news programs are lying to you. So when something is coming into our atmosphere, they'll tell you it was a meteorite. Okay? These are fallen angels. Now, let's go into it. Let's go into the cycles from the beginning.
This is the book of Enoch, chapter 72, verse 1.
Go ahead.
The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven.
This is the book of the courses of the luminaries of heaven.
The relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin.
According to their names and places of origin. The Most High have set up angels to deal with the courses outside of our earth. It's ironic, no coincidence, that these same portals that the Most High have put outside the earth, they have you worship them under the horoscope. We're going to show you that. On top of that, this world called them planets. But they're actually luminaries working simultaneously with the earth to keep things in balance and in order according to the original courses of the Most High. All right? So don't believe you're a scientist when they tell you that everything you see in the universe came from some big bang and all of a sudden all this order came out of chaos. Okay? The stars in heaven, everything you see is in proper order from the master orderer. Okay? So let's speak about how this happens so that we'll understand that, so that we can actually get on the right course. And see, they knew we would eventually figure it out. They just needed to keep us asleep long enough to help them build their construct. Read.
The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven.
Go ahead.
The relations of each, according to their classes, their dominion and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin.
Go ahead.
And according to their months.
And according to their months. And one thing that's good about this is that after today, we'll be able to put the holy days that we were deceived in following in the past away. We'll also be able to put the lunar calendar theory and all that stuff totally away. Because even those that's following the lunar calendar and all that will flawlessly be able to relate to this information flawlessly. Because they were on course with their thinking, but they were off course by dealing with the moon. We're going to bring it to you. Read.
And according to their months, which Uriel, the angel who was with me, who is their God, showed me.
So it's Uriel that's guiding the luminaries. He's the angel the Most High appointed. See, the angels are in perfect order and rank under the Most High. We know Lucifer was high in rank before he fell, and 1/3 of those who was under his rank fell to the earth with him. In the beginning, after man was created. Why? Because he didn't understand why he should minister to the Most High's creation. Why should he minister to something that he helped create? So he wanted to be upheld as a God since he was early in creation. Eventually, he took Adam's dominion through the fall. Read.
And he showed me all their laws exactly as they were, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto eternity.
See that? He showed Enoch all the years of the world to eternity, till the end. So, of course, they don't want you reading this information. They just tell you just go to church and clap your hands and pay tithes. And that's all you need to know, and just call on Jesus. You don't need to know this information. Read.
Till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries.
And this is the first law of the luminaries.
The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven.
Go ahead.
And its setting in the western portals of the heaven.
Go ahead.
And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets.
6 in which it riseth, and 6 which it sets. You notice that's 12 portals. These 12 portals have now been turned into your horoscope. Knowing that everyone is born under one of these cycles. Now, is there an attribute that comes with being born under one of these cycles? Absolutely yes. But we were not supposed to know about it. You understand? We were not supposed to know. You were supposed to engage someone to find out their personality, not figure out things about them. Because why? If you know things prior, you can use that same information to manipulate. Okay? We were not supposed to know. The fallen angels taught mankind this. And therefore, they could use psychology to urge people to do the thing, do the will of Satan. Yes, the horoscopes is evil on a high level. Is it true with the attributes? Absolutely correct. But we're not supposed to deal with it. It's necromancy. Go ahead.
And the moon rises and sets in these portals, and the leaders of the portals and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west.
There's 6 in the east and 6 in the west. And Paul said, be careful. Let someone beguile you in the involuntary worshiping of angels. Let's get that real quick. And that's why Paul said that. You're worshiping angels when you deal with the horoscopes.
Colossians chapter 2, verse 18. Let no man beguile you.
Let no man beguile you
of your reward.
Of your reward.
In a voluntary humility.
In an involuntary humility, which means you're voluntary and humbling yourself into this.
And worshiping of angels.
In worshiping of angels. But let no man trick you into involuntarily humbling yourself to deal with these spirits, or to humble yourself, and you're going to find yourself following a fallen angel or a luminary in heaven. Now Satan have transitioned all your worships to give glory to luminaries because, like I said before, he figured they came first in creation and man should be last. So you notice all your pagans worship the sun, worship the moon, worship creation, and we're low on the totem pole. That's involuntary worshiping of angels. Let's go back to these portals.
This is Enoch chapter 7, 72, verse 4.
Go ahead.
It says, in the following, and all following each other in exactly corresponding order.
Go ahead.
Also many windows to the right and left of these portals.
Go ahead.
And first there goes forth the great luminary named the sun.
Named the sun.
And his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven. And he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire.
Now you notice it's calling the sun a he. Read.
The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives.
Go ahead.
And the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east. And is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and is the fourth, and shines in the face of the heaven.
Go ahead.
In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal.
He rises the first month in the great portal, saying the first month of the year. Go ahead.
Which is the fourth, those 6 portals in the east.
Go ahead.
And in the fourth portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings.
Go ahead.
From which proceed a flame. And when they are opened in their season, when the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through the fourth portal 30 mornings in succession.
So the first month is 30 mornings. Read.
And sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter to the 30th morning.
Go ahead.
On that day, the day is longer and the night by a 9th part. And the day amounts exactly to 10 parts and the night to 8 parts.
So this is how they messed up the divide. Okay. Later on, the Egyptians came up with a 24-hour calendar. Now, we were dealing with a 24-hour calendar too, but they broke it up. You understand? Instead of 1 hour being 60 minutes under the Egyptians, who made it simple, we broke it down into 18 parts opposed to 12 parts. So there was 18 parts in our cycle, and it was 12 parts in theirs. And it was, you understand? So they consolidated it smaller. You understand? To make it a 24-hour calendar and broke it down into 12 parts. You understand? And we did the research on it. And when you see our new website, you'll have all the charts to show you from time exactly what they did from time to time. You understand? Read on.
It says, when the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through that fourth portal 30 mornings in succession.
Go ahead.
And sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period, the days become daily longer, and the night nightly shorter to the 30th morning. On that day, the day is longer, and the ninth by a ninth part. And the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts.
Go ahead.
And the sun rises from the fourth portal and sets in the fourth, and returns to the fifth portal of the east 30 mornings.
Go ahead.
And rises from it, and sets in the fifth portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts.
Go ahead.
And the night becomes shorter, and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the sixth portal, and rises and sets in the sixth portal, 1 and 30 mornings on account of its sign.
Now it's doing 31. So we know the first month is 30, the second month 30, and the third month is 31. There's going to be an extra day for a change of season throughout the year. And what you're going to have, if you do this 4 times, 364 complete days. Now listen to this clearly. How do you understand this? So this is what's going on here. You got 364 days out of a year that flawlessly go into a Most High's Jubilee of 7. 7 goes into 364 how many times? 52 times. 5 and 2, 7. That's a complete cycle. 364 days. And they have deceived the people through the Babylonians, the Egyptians, and up to the Romans to have you look at a circumference of 360. Now I'm going to show you something here. What you're seeing here is an actual timestamp according to the original year. Now, we can't go into our time unless we first realize what a year was. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 extra days, which make your 4 days, and you got the rest 360. Also showing a change of seasons, perfect time, no leap years, no daylight saving time, no nothing. Now, finish reading because there's a few other things we have here that I need to break down so we can go into the culprits who lied to us and gave us a false clock. Go ahead.
It says, and then the day becomes longer by 2 parts and amounts to 11 parts.
Go ahead.
And the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises and sets in the 6th portal 1 and 30 mornings on account of its sign.
That's 31 days. Go ahead.
On that day the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night. And the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer. And the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal, and rises from it and sets 30 mornings.
Go ahead.
When the 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes forth, and from that 6th portal in the west, and goes to the east, and rises in the 5th portal for 30 mornings.
Go ahead.
And sets in the west again in the 5th western portal.
Now we're going into the fall time. Go ahead.
And that day the day decreases by 2 parts and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from that portal and sets in the 5th portal of the west, and rises in the 4th portal 1:30 mornings on account of its sign, and sets in the west. On that day the day is equalized with the night and becomes of equal length.
Go ahead.
And the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from the portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings in the 3rd portal, and sets in the west in the 3rd portal.
Go ahead.
And on that day the night becomes longer than the day. The night becomes longer than night, and the day shorter than day.
And you notice when it's begin to get cold, you get less sun. Perfect cycle. When it starts getting hot, you get more sun. Summer, what they call summer, what you got spring, summer, and what they call fall or autumn. Finish reading.
And on that day the night becomes longer than the day, the night becomes longer than night, and the day shorter than day till the 30th morning.
Go ahead.
And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that 3rd portal and sets in the 3rd portal in the west and returns to the east.
Go ahead.
And for 30 mornings rises in the 2nd portal in the east. And in like manner sets in the 2nd portal in the west of the heaven.
Go ahead.
And on that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from the 2nd portal and sets in the west in the 2nd portal, and returns to the east in the 1st portal for 1:30 mornings.
1:30 mornings. Go ahead.
And sets in the 1st portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night becomes longer and amounts to the double of the day. And the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6.
Go ahead.
And the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turns again on the divisions of his orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and sets also in the west opposite to it.
Go ahead.
And on that night has the night decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And the sun has returned and entered into the 2nd portal in the east, and returns on those his divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings.
Go ahead.
Rising and setting. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the nights amount to 10 parts, and the day to 8.
Now we're dealing in the winter time. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the 3rd portal for 1:30 mornings, and sets in the west of the heaven. On that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days 364. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise. Through the course of the sun these distinctions are made, they are separated. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and is returned as often as he returns 60 times and rises. The great luminary which is named the sun forever and ever. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according to the Most High, as the Most High commanded. As he rises, so he sets, and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night. And his light is 7-fold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal.
Now, the key point that you can get into this, and I'm going to go into it, because these are all the phases of the sun. But the key point to give us the time of the beginning of the year is to go the day before the first day. Why? Because that's the only Only twice in a year will you have equal sun and equal day and equal night. 12 hours day, 12 hours night. And that's the day before the new year. Okay? It also does that a day after autumn. So you can easily find the new year. So what we did, did the research, and we went into the astrological calendar of time to look at the sunrise and sunset, and we have it. We have it here, and we were able to figure out the first day of the year of every year based on equal part sun day and equal part night. Once that happens, we know that's the last day of the year, and then the next morning will begin the new year. Now, they fooled the world. They made everyone believe that it was the regular vernal equinox. The Romans lied and told people that the sun rise for the new year of spring, March 20th. And if you believe that, it would automatically make you believe that the Sabbath falls on a Tuesday. Right? But it don't. We did the research and realized March 20th, the day before, doesn't give you equal day and equal night. It don't give you 12 hours light, 12-hour darkness. And then we got a reference point to show us that the Romans and our people and our government deceived us so that we would know when the year come in. The vernal equinox 2012, first day of spring myth busted. I need you to read this article for the brothers and sisters there.
Sir, this is for National Geographic.
National Geographic.
Dated March 20th, 2012. In the Northern Hemisphere, winter officially ended at 1:14 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, March 20th, 2012, the vernal equinox or spring equinox, making today the first day of spring. But don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled
by the old rumor that the spring equinox of length of day is exactly equal to the length of night. The true days of day and night equality always fall before the vernal equinox.
See that? Same thing as Enoch told us. Now they put this in where? The National Geographic. Now, how many of our people read the National Geographic? Now tell the truth. They lied to you. They set up a new spring so that you will never know the first day of the year. That's number one. But we did the calculations and we know exactly when it is. On top of that, I thank the Most High because guess what? Our Sabbaths fall right on top. Every Friday to sundown and Saturday to sundown is the Sabbath, and it never changed since the beginning because the Most High stayed on a cycle of 7. They never changed that. But they changed the vernal equinox so we wouldn't know the time. And if you go off of their vernal equinox, you'll believe that the Sabbath is Tuesday. And see, and this is why the Christian church say, listen, well, we don't care what it is. They done did so much switching around, we're just going to go on Sundays. But now they're not going to have any excuse either. Because we're going to show you that we're on the right time as far as the weekly cycle. The 7-day cycle. So our Sabbath is flawless. Okay? Which means when that first day come in, we count 7 days. It's Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And it does that for a 364-day cycle for 52 weeks flawlessly. Finish reading.
It says, but don't be fooled by the old rumor that the spring equinox, the length of days is exactly equal to the length of night.
Go ahead.
The true days of day-night equality always falls before the vernal equinox.
Always fall before the vernal equinox. And if you go on any of the astrological NASA sites, they will point you to March 20th on purpose. You have to actually go and put the coordinates in yourself from Jerusalem, and then look at each time stamp to know when there's equal day and equal night, 12 hours day and 12 hours night. You will see it. You will see the sun rise at a certain time, 5:49, and it'll set at 5:49. You know you got 12 hours day, you know that's the day before the new year. We even researched the coordinates to put in, straight from Jerusalem, and we did it from Mount Sinai. And we're going to give you all the site in which you can actually look at it yourself. Okay? Now, it's important that we be on the right time. And I'm going to show you why a little later. They knew that if we were on the Most High cycle and stayed on his frequency, that the Most High would operate with his people like he did in the past. Okay? The only way you can get anything in this world if you operate on Satan's frequency. You understand? But there's another, and I'm putting this in verbiage or terminology you and I understand. There's another frequency that circumvents this plane. Finish reading what you have.
It says, the true days of day-night equality always falls before the vernal equinox.
Always fall before the vernal equinox. Read.
And after the autumnal or fall equinox.
And there's one that happens right after the fall equinox. Even day, even night. Go ahead.
According to Geoff Chester, a public affairs specialist with the U.S. Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C. Exactly when it happens depends on where you are located on the surface of the earth, he said. By the time the center of the sun passes over the equator, the official definition of equinox, the day will be slightly longer than the night everywhere on earth.
Go ahead.
The difference is a matter of geometry.
Also in this article, I don't read the whole article because it's about 11 pages, but also in this article it tells you that the Roman Catholic Church linked in with your people of commerce to set the vernal equinox to surround the Easter commerce season so that you can celebrate Easter, so that you can be in the full spirit of operating during Easter. That's what it's all about. It wasn't about the time. It was to set everything up from the satanic Babylonian calendar. Now, I have another thing. This is something else. Listen to this, brothers and sisters. What I'm about to read to you, the reference is the Hephaestal Book of Thebes, Book 1, Volume 6. Because I needed some history on who came along and brought us this mess and had us go on another calendar opposed to the Most High's calendar. Now, if you want to know about some calendars, hey, I got all the Roman calendars for you here. All right? You talking about some madness and why the Most High wanted us to be on our day. I mean, they have some calendars where it's 8-day weeks. They got some 9-day weeks. They have some 7-day weeks. I mean, you talking about some crazy mess from the Romans. I went through all their calendars and realized that the Most High said a foolish nation will rule over us. They have it where they don't even know what time it is no more. Okay? Now, but let's get back to the Enoch calendar. I'm going to go into that Roman calendar in a moment. But here's some information about what they did and how they were able to move us from following the right time of year 364 days. All right? I need you, hold up. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Let's hold this. Let's hold this for a moment. Let's get the book of Jubilees. Before you get the book of Jubilees, let's get 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter, to verify that the book of Jubilees is authentic.
Oh, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 14, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass upon the 3rd day, I sat under an oak tree, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, Here am I, Lord.
Here am I, Lord. Go ahead.
And I stood upon my feet. Then said he unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses.
In the bush I manifestly revealed myself unto Moses. Go ahead.
And talked with them when my people served in Egypt. And I sent them and led my people out of Egypt.
So this is the same God speaking to Esdras that spoke to Moses, the God of the Hebrews. Read.
And brought him up to the mount of Sinai.
Go ahead.
Where I held him by me a long season.
Where I held him by me a long season.
And told him many wondrous things. And showed him the secrets of the times.
And showed him the secrets of the times. Now, Ezra seen the secret of the times. And he's telling Esdras how long we have according to the time that Esdras was on the earth. He says the time is broken down into 12 parts. Now I've done many lessons on those 12 parts to show us how much time we have. And if I have time in this lesson, I'll go back, I'll just do a refresher on the 12 parts. But the key point I'm bringing out of Esdras is that the Most High showed Moses the secrets of the times, but yet you can't find that in the Bible. Why? He told Moses to hold some things and to hide some things. Read it. It's going to show you that. Read it.
2nd Ezra, chapter 14, verse 5. And told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of the times.
Secrets of the times.
And the end.
And the end.
And commanded him, saying, These words shalt thou declare.
I'm going to give you some words to declare, and that's what we see in our first 5 books of Moses. Read.
And these shalt thou hide.
And these shalt thou what?
And these shalt thou hide.
And that's why you haven't been given from your churches the book of Jubilees. What's Jubilee? A 7. So when the Most High did his creation in a cycle of 7, that would be the cycle until eternity, until the new creation. Everything would work off of 7 so that you cannot forget the Sabbath. First day is Sunday, or what they call Sunday, but it's really 1. And the last day is 7. On and on and on and on until the end. It's that simple. So there's no excuse for a Christian to pop up today and say, well, I don't know what day the Sabbath is. Well, you got 364 days in a year. Okay? You divide that by 52. You got 52 Sabbaths every year. Right on point. So you can't make an excuse to say no one knows when the Sabbath falls. The Most High is not the author of confusion. 7 goes into 364, 52 times. 5 and 2, 7. The Most High have always worked on the cycle of 7. All right? Now, finish reading what you have there. I need you to go in the book of Jubilees, because Jubilees was showed to Moses, the end. But I need you to go specifically into the Most High warning us and warning Moses what would happen if we began to follow the course or the times and calendars of the Gentiles. Read.
This is the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 30.
Go ahead.
And all the days of the commandment will be 52 days of weeks of days.
How many?
And all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days.
52 weeks of days. See that? 52 going to 364 flawlessly. You see how Jubilee is linked right to Enoch? Go ahead.
And these will make the entire year complete.
And this will make the entire year complete. Go ahead.
Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets, and there is no neglecting this commandment.
And there's no neglecting this commandment. We must stay with this command. Go ahead.
For a single year, or from year to year. Verse 32. And command thou the children of Israel.
And command the children of Israel, that's us,
that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days.
So it was commanded by the Most High that we observe 364 days. No leap years, none of that other garbage they have. Read.
And these will constitute a complete year.
And these will constitute a complete year. Go ahead.
And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feast.
Go ahead.
For everything will fall out in them according to their testimony. And they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment.
If you don't do this according to the command, read.
Then they will disturb all their seasons.
Then they will disturb all of their seasons. Go ahead.
And the years will be dislodged from this order.
And the years will be dislodged from its order. Go ahead.
And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged.
So because we're not following our seasons correctly and our holy days correctly, the whole earth is out of course. It snows in the summer. The whole earth is out of course. I know we have all these things. We talk about the HARP system and all that. But the way we operate in the earth affects the whole course of the earth. The same way from the beginning when Adam sinned, a curse came on all creation. So since we're out of course, the whole earth is out of course. And see, the powers that be understand this. So it's their job to keep us out of course. Oh, the law done away with, brother. Eat what you want, do what you want, whatever you want to do it, sister. Because Jesus loves you. And if you try to do what's right, you try to follow God's law, Jesus ain't going, God don't love you. Listen to this clearly. Read it.
This is Jubilee 6 in the middle of verse 33.
I'm going to show you where we'll go off at. Read.
It says, and they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged. And they will neglect their ordinances.
They will neglect their ordinances. Read.
And all the children of Israel will forget, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years.
Go ahead. They will go wrong for all the orders of the years. Now that the Most High have put us on the right time to understand, it's easily to figure out how many years we're in, how far, when they did what they did. You just have to know when the years start and just keep on that cycle and go back. It's that simple. But see, they did everything to fudge the starting point. There's no way we could have gotten this if we didn't go into Enoch and started reading Enoch. When the brothers sent this, we went back into it and looked at every ounce of it, every part of it. Said, okay, now I'm seeing it. I'm going to show you something here. Remember last week I said, man, there's no one out there following the holy days it's an ignorance. But it wasn't no one out there following according to the course, including us. Okay? Because you can only follow what you're exposed to, what you know. But when the understanding comes, you must apply it and then go tell the children of Israel. Finish reading.
This is the middle of verse 35 of chapter 6.
Go ahead.
It says, for I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, and it is not my own devising. For the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles.
He says, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, which is of the book, and walk after the feast of the Gentiles. Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving. You think all these things fall by chance? It have nothing to do with the people they're telling you about. It falls according to the luminary worships. It falls according to the Babylonian and Egyptian way and the Roman way. Their customs following fallen angels and demons. Finish reading.
It says, after their error and after their ignorance.
After their error and after their ignorance. A lot of us were just ignorant. We figured, okay, well, the Jewish people are following the holy day like this. We'll just start off and try to do some of the things they're doing. No way. You'd be better off staying a Christian and not knowing than following what they're doing. Because they are knowingly following Satan. Okay? Finish reading.
For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon.
Of the what?
Of the moon.
They will set their holy days according to the moon. That would be the error that the children of Israel will make. You notice our calendars? We would say, okay, well, here's a new moon. Count 14 days, Passover, off. Can't be like that. The Passover falls flawlessly on the second week from the first day of the year, of the cycle. It falls on a Sabbath every year. It's the second Sabbath. 14 days from the first 364 days. Like the Most High says, the first week of the Sabbath, second week of the Sabbath. It was from the 364-day cycle, not the moon. And I'm going to show you who gave us the moon, when they did it, what year they did it, and who did it. Okay? I'm going to give it to you. Also, I'm going to show you, even during Christ's time, 2 separate Passovers going on the same time during Christ. And it was in the scriptures the whole time. 2 separate Passovers. So it's no different today. All these different Israelite groups around here, their Passover fall on this day, their Passover fall on that day, his Passover fall on this day. Why? Because no one is doing it according to the original cycle when the year comes in. It has nothing to do with the moon. Why? Because it tells you, and I'm going back to Enoch, the sun is a male and the moon is female. Her cycle is 360 days, which is not a complete year. And her phases change throughout that 364, and sometimes she do what she want to do off cycle. And it tells you that in Enoch. It tells you in Enoch, sometimes she do what she want to do. So you cannot follow that. I'm going to show you. It says some will do what? Read it again.
It says, for there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon.
There will be some who would make observations of the moon. And do what?
How it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year.
How it disturbs the seasons and come in from year to year. Go ahead.
10 days too soon.
10 days too soon. Why? It comes in 10 days too soon. A moon is a 30-day cycle in its phases. Common sense will tell us that you do 30 12 times. That's 354 days. That's 10 days too soon. It's not a complete year. See that? So if you go 360 days for a year over and over and over and over again, what will happen? Think about it. You will think that time have expanded, like you in all these different, like the years is now more than what you think they are. Because it comes in 10 days too soon. Now, if you do this for 5,000, 10,000 years, what year you're in? Okay? Do you know someone purposely came into Jerusalem and killed our priests and made the priests that were living follow the holy days by the moon? And that's why we began to do it in our culture. And the Most High said, do away with it. I will not hear it. I don't want no part of it. Because that's what will begin to throw us off of our cycle and the frequency with the Most High, our God, Ahia. Right? Finish reading what you have there.
This is the book of
You got some of the
Jubilees.
Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yeah, I'll read it after.
Okay. All right.
It says, this is the book of Jubilees,
I'll hold
chapter
Dead Sea
6.
Scrolls.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Chapter 6, verse 36.
Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, the middle of 36. How it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon.
10 days too soon. That's 354 days, not a complete year. Go ahead.
For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony.
See that? By following the moon, we make an abominable day, the days of testimony. Read.
And an unclean day, a feast day.
And an unclean day, a feast day. See that? That's crystal clear. We've been following what they've given us. What our teachers have taught us. We've just been following it. And it's been hard having okay, what phase of the moon? Okay, when did the moon come out? Every year, you get exhausted just to try to set up some holy days, when the majority of the holy days fall right on a Sabbath. Okay? Quite simple. A lot of them. Right? You wanted to bring some out of Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yeah, real quick, just coinciding what we're reading here.
Okay. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, hold up. Before you bring it out there, because it's something I want to, before you do that, all right? Because there's something I want to bring here that will mesh directly with this, all right? I know where you're going. All right. We're going to go into the Dead Sea Scrolls too and give you the history on that. But before we go there, let's go back to Enoch and read about the moon now. And before we do that, let me pause this before they cut this. Let's go to the book of Enoch. Go back to Enoch right now. And let's go into the moon now to show you why you cannot deal with cycles according to the moon. All right?
This is the book of Enoch, chapter 73, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. And her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven.
You know what it's calling the moon? A she or a her. The sun is masculine. The moon is feminine. Read.
And her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven. And her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind. And the light is given to her in definite measure. And her rising and setting change every month. And her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform, in example 4.
When it's full moon, read.
It amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises. And her first phase in the east comes forth on the 30th morning. And on that day she becomes visible, and constitutes for you the phase of the moon on the 30th day, together with the sun and the portal where the sun rises. And the 1/2 of her goes forth by a 7th part. And her whole circumference is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. And she sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in that night, and the beginning of her morning, and the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible, that night with 14 parts and a half of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh part, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun. And in her remaining days she becomes bright, in the remaining 13 parts. Chapter 74, verse 1. And I saw another course, a law for her. And how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution. And all these Uriel, the holy angel, who was the leader of them all, showed to me in their positions. And I wrote down with their positions as he showed them unto me. And I wrote down their months as they were. And the appearance of their lights till 15 days were accomplished. In single seventh parts she accomplishes all her light in the east. And in the single seventh parts accomplishes all darkness in the west. In 2 months the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle parts, the third and the fourth. She goes forth for 7 days and turns about and returns again through the portal where the sun rises, and accomplishes all her light, and recedes from the sun in 8 days, enters the 6th portal from which the sun goeth forth. And when the sun goes forth from the 4th portal, she goes forth 7 days until she goes forth, and from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes and enters into the 1st portal in 8 days. And she returns again in 7 days into the 4th portal from which the sun goes forth. Thus I saw their position, how the moon rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days. And all the days which accrue to it for one of these 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the overplus of the sun and the stars amount to 6 days. And in 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days. And the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance nor delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the year with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years 1,820 days, so that in 8 years there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days, and in 5 years she falls 50 days behind.
As you can see, the equations are done for you to flawlessly see what year you're in. Just take it 5 years at a time according to the cycle, or 10 years at a time according to the cycle. You didn't have to deal with the moon at all, because the moon come up short, and it shows you this. You have to deal with the cycle of when the year comes in. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, before you read what you have here, all right? Matter of fact, go ahead and read this here, because I'm going to go into who injected this moon calendar into Israel's society, into our people's society. Up until these others came into our lives and began to destroy us, we followed a regular 364-day cycle. Every 7 days was the Sabbath. When the beginning of the year would come in, the first week was the Sabbath, the second week was the Passover. The next weekend was the Passover. It was that simple. It's not hard. The 14th day of the month. It's that simple. Okay? Finish reading what you have in the Qumran caves.
This is the Dead Sea Scrolls, page 347, in the title.
Now the reason he's able to give you the Dead Sea Scrolls here is because the Essenes, whom the Most High put a spirit on to escape the hands of those who was trying to oppress us, went out into the sticks and began to scribe our records and put them in earthen clay and bury them in case the other nations destroy us. So they found this record in the Qumran caves near Ethiopia. So the Most High put a spirit on the Essenes to actually record the original calendar, to describe all, they scribed all of our records, even the extra records. They scribed Enoch. They scribed Jubilees. They scribed a lot of different records. And they scribed records from the Dead Sea Scrolls. I mean, that's in the Dead Sea Scrolls that are not in any other text. And you know who owns it now? The Jewish powers that be. And they cut out certain fragments so that you don't understand how you fit in this. Here's another thing. In this same record, the Dead Sea Scrolls, it tells us at the very end, and this is why they don't want our people to go into the Middle East or outside of America, that at the end, the Most High will plant Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in the desert to fight against Esau in the last battle of Armageddon. It's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That Judah, Benjamin, and Levi will be in the Middle East, and they don't want us there, knowing that the Most High was going to give us power from on high. They don't want us nowhere near the areas in which the Most High is going to protect us, because we'll have power. It's in their Dead Sea Scrolls, but they don't teach you this in church. You don't really know your purpose as a nation. They had to separate you from that so that you can be a cog in their machine, opposed to working for your own nation and for your own embetterment. But go ahead, get the point you had to say there.
Right, this is titled Calendars of Priestly Courses. It says 12 fragmentary manuscripts from Cave 4, paleographically dated to the late 2nd century BCE, present in various forms the peculiar solar calendar, constructed in 6 sequences. It says their year consisted of 12 months of 30 days each, plus 4 extra days added to each of the 4 seasons. Basically what you just mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
It says some documents from 4Q attempt to combine this calendar with the various priestly courses which serve in the temple for a week at a time from one Sabbath to the following Friday. They also combine with it dates of the full moon given according to the days of the week of duty of the priestly course, the date of the solar month, an equivalent date of the lunar calendar of mainstream Judaism, and it has in brackets given the calendar of mainstream Judaism, and it shows the actual time in which it comes to. It says a year of 12 months of 29 or 30 days, 354 days. 10 days short of what we just
They're off 354 days. And also I did the research even on their Passover. You know what the Passover the Jewish people have? They go off of the first, listen to this, the first full moon after the spring equinox. I did it last year. I looked it up from last year, April 6th, full moon. That thing with the werewolf and all that, they into all that. Okay, they feel they get certain power with the full moon. The Gentiles deal like that. Don't forget, Romulus and Remus, the 2 children who they claim was children part Nephilim, or what they would call part demigod, was reared by a she-wolf. Okay? That they sucked from a she-wolf and gained power. And they howled at the moon. This is what they dealt with. Now, when they started injecting their holy days and started coming against us, eventually we began to deal with the phases of the moon opposed to the regular new year. Now, I know this is probably going over a lot of people's head, and that's fine. Sit back and study it, because a lot of you are fairly new. But understand that there's a great significance, because don't forget, the Most High promised us before, when we were in captivity, he promised us that he would begin to show himself to us. He would begin to give us back our knowledge, our language, our understanding, our holy days. We wasn't going to stay in this condition forever. So this is significant that we are able now to get ourselves back on the Most High's holy days. That's big. All right? Now, the information I have here from one of the books of Thebes, Robert E. Smith breaks down a few things concerning the moon. The new moon calendar. Read it for me.
It states, The new moon calendar was the official calendar of the Greeks.
Was the official calendar of the Greeks.
And when Alexander the Great conquered the Middle East at the end of the 4th century BCE, the lunar calendar was introduced and was gradually accepted by most of the people except for the Hebrews.
Except for the Hebrew people. And anybody know about Alexander the Greek, you're talking about around 333 BC. Around 300 years before Christ came on the scene. He's running around with all types of wickedness, dealing with his general, dealing with men and all that stuff. Killing other people, taking down countries. He took down parts of Asia and put Edomites there. All this is what Alexander the Greek did. There's nothing great about him. They want to call him Alexander the Great. And force people into following the moon. Read on.
By 167 BC, King Antiochus IV gave orders to Jerusalem's high priest Menelaus to completely Hellenize the Jews and abandon the Enoch calendar in favor of the new moon calendar.
He told them to abandon the Enoch calendar. In favor of what?
In favor of the new moon calendar.
In favor of the new moon calendar. Okay? Read.
King Antiochus banned the Hebrew religion and prohibited all religious practices. He sent a senator from Athens to give the Hebrew people an ultimatum to forsake the laws of their God.
To forsake the laws of their God.
And follow the king's orders or be put to death.
Follow the king's orders or be put to death. That was the ultimatum our priests and leaders had during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, who's written of in Scripture. We're going to get him in a moment. Read.
So most of the Hebrew people followed the king's orders to save their families, and many were put to death.
Go ahead.
King Antiochus forced the Hebrew people to celebrate the birthday of the moon every month.
See that? The new moon. He forced people to do what?
King Antiochus forced the Hebrew people to celebrate the birthday of the new moon every month.
The birthday of the moon every month. That was Antiochus that came under the Gentiles. Jubilees told us don't follow the moon. And we won't anymore. You can believe that. Read on.
At the time of the visible crescent, and he ordered them to worship his god Zeus.
His god who?
Zeus.
There go Jesus again. Oh, you thought it started in our time, huh? There go Jesus. They get you going and coming. Read.
When he dedicated the temple in Jerusalem to Zeus, the Lord of heaven, Baal Shemen, and began sacrificing swine and making abominable offerings on the altar.
And they started sacrificing swine in the altar. And you know where you can read that at? You can read that in this book right here. Oh, it's all tore up. The Josephus. The Josephus. The War of the Jews. When the Edomites began to war against us, Antiochus Epiphanes came in to change our times and laws. Edomite. Today he will be called Jewish. All right, and that's why they follow the phases of the moon for all their holy days. Do you know that they got a holy day after the Passover, the month afterwards? They got a holy day called the Jewish Mysticism Day. What is that? Do you know that's a holy day from Jewish people? Look it up. Jewish Mysticism Day. What's this? They got holy days none of us have ever heard of. And they make the Christians believe that they're the Jews. They're the people that's following God's law. No. You talking Harry Potter here. You talking straight sorcery and witchcraft. All right? They're following the same days they've been following under ancient Greece. Before that, they took it from ancient Babylon and ancient Egypt. Ancient Greece, ancient Rome. They follow the same practices and just giving it Hebrew names and trying to color it with Passover. Then they got 1 month. They say the first month is the month Nisan. Nisan is a god. Nisan is actually a Greek god. They got 1 month called Tammuz on their calendar. They got a month called Tammuz. Tammuz was the virgin Babylonian child of Semiramis. Okay? Finish reading what you have there, because it's something key there. Before you go go to the War of the Jews. Get it out of the Apocrypha first on Antiochus Epiphanes. And let's get it out of here. War of the Jews, chapter 1, verse 1.
This is our First Maccabees, the first chapter.
Okay.
First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 9.
Okay, someone want to know who this guy is. Let me show you a picture of him. The demon, Antiochus Epiphanes. See, you see his coin right? See the coin right here? That's him, right? I meticulously picked this picture because I want you to see him right here. You see the God he's worshiping, which is a giant? Look at the people, how small the people is. Right there. That's in front of him. To show you that they were worshiping giants. Here's the people right in his hand. Just small little people worshiping a giant. It's on their coins. They were giants in the land in those days. Why? Because they were part Horite. Esau mixed with the Horites. And those that are in the academy tomorrow will get the full teaching on Esau. His mixture, his family, everything will be in the academy tomorrow. There he is. The demon that came into our homeland and began to destroy and made us follow their holy days. And then he totally desecrated the temple. He had them bring flocks, hundreds and thousands, thousands of pigs in Jerusalem and began to slaughter them on the Most High's altar in disrespect. Yeah. Let's read about Antiochus in the book, the Apocrypha, in the book of Maccabees.
This is Maccabees, First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root.
A wicked root.
Antiochus.
Antiochus.
Surname Epiphanes.
Surname Epiphanes. He's written of in Scripture. He's the one where it talks about in Daniel 7:25, will think to change times and laws. He operated around 157, around the time between 157 and 155 BC.
Son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
See that? He reigned in the latter years of the Greeks. Well, he set the Edomites up. He finished what Alexander the Greek started. And eventually sacked Jerusalem. The whole blueprint on how to destroy our people came from this guy. Later, Vespasian and Titus used it. Later, another cross-dresser, what's his name? Nero, the cross-dresser. He used it against us. Let's get it out of the War of the Jews real quick.
This is Josephus' War of the Jews, book 1, chapter 1, section 1. At the same time that Antiochus, who was called Epiphanes, had a quarrel with the sixth Ptolemy about his right to the whole country of Syria, a great sedition fell among the men of power in Judea, and they had a contention about obtaining the government. while each of those that were of dignity could not endure to be subject to their equals. However, Onias, one of the high priests, got the better, and cast the sons of Tobias out of the city, who fled to Antiochus and besought him to make use of them for his leaders, and to make an expedition into Judea. The king being thereto disposed beforehand, complied with them, and came upon the Jews with a great army.
He came upon the Jews, which are us, with a great army. This wasn't a white people against white people here. All right? It was him that's slaughtering our people. Read.
The king being thereto disposed beforehand, complied with them, and came upon the Jews with a great army, and took their city by force, and slew a great multitude of those that favored Ptolemy, and sent out his soldiers to plunder them without mercy. He also spoiled the temple, and put a stop to the constant practice of offering a daily sacrifice of expiation for 3 years and 6 months. But Onias the high priest fled to Ptolemy, and received a place from him in the nomus of Heliopolis.
And you notice that he started taking the daily sacrifice away? That was the daily food for the people. You notice how the world governments are now using that same platform to control food and cut food off? Same exact agenda. Read.
Where he built a city resembling Jerusalem, and a temple that was like its temple, concerning which we shall speak in its proper place hereafter.
So this guy started killing people. When you read down further, he began to set up his own priests, and eventually injected the moon calendar and had us follow festivals according to their moon phases. Now all of our holy days is out of course. You're not following the Passover on a Sabbath anymore. You're following it according to a new moon. That's what they did to us. Now there's more. Let's go to Daniel 7:25.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25.
Go ahead.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
And think to change times and laws.
And shall think to change times and laws. This speaking first of Antiochus Epiphanes. He shall think to change times and laws. What times and laws? Well, we're reading out of the Bible. The Bible's times and laws. The Most High's people's times and laws. No wonder when the Gentiles have set up their institutions and their churches, now they teach you God's law doesn't matter. Why? It doesn't matter to them. That's why they teach that. They shall think to change times and laws. Did they change times and laws? Well, no. Because the sun still come out the time the Most High tell it to come out. It still start the same cycle every year, 364 days, without, without halting 1 second. So the Most High is doing what he did from the beginning. But it's the illusion they have taught us, and also the traditions they've given us have separated us from the Most High's time. All right? He shall think to change times and laws. And what else will he do?
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
What's the great words? You got evolution that they have. The law of God don't matter. Right? And shall do what? Wear out what?
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And we have been wore out under them. That's captivity. That's slavery. Who are the saints? We're the saints. The saints are not in your Catholic Church. The saints of the Most High, according to the Bible, are the children of Israel. Get me Psalm the 50th chapter, the 5th and 6th verse, so we can identify the saints according to the Bible. It's not those idols you lighting candles to in your Catholic Church, talking about Saint Bob and Saint Mary and all these other idols and demons. Okay, read it.
Psalms chapter 50, verse 5.
Go ahead.
Gather my saints together unto me.
Gather my saints together unto me.
Those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
Those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Okay. Now, let me give you an example of how we deal with the holy days. Let's go to Leviticus 23 real quick. The lesson is not complete. We're still going over a few things, especially during the time of Christ, because something was implemented that we've just mentioned that threw off some time, and there was 3 or 4 separate calendars going on at one time, and that's why I have the record of the Roman calendar. There was even 2 separate Passovers going on at one time. So now what we're doing now is going into the research of the Greek in the New Testament to get the correct day that Christ rose. Because in the New Testament, that word day in certain places is not even there. It's not even there in the Greek. The word day is in other places, but when it says she went on the first day of the week, the word day is not even there at all. I can give you an example right here so you can see it yourself. I want you to see it yourself. So we're still doing the research on this. So this is really an incomplete lesson, but we wanted to give you what we needed to give you first so that we can set these holy days in order once and for all. Matthew 28:1. Now we're reading this. In the English it says, in the end of the Sabbath, as it dawned toward the first day of the week. Right? But when you look at it, it's in the end of the Sabbath, as it began toward the first of the week, came Mary. Right? And when you look at that week, it says, what word do we have there for week, lawyer?
Sabbaton.
Sabbath. What word do we have here for Sabbath?
Sabbaton.
Sabbath and week is the same word. So that's why we got to do the research to go into the 3 days to show you what day Christ rose, because we have different calendars. We got one calendar of the Romans. We got another calendar of the Sanhedrin, who was following days that was injected by Antiochus Epiphanes. So we know that they were actually operating on a different calendar than Christ. The example I can give you, the night Christ went to do the Passover, that was the Passover night. He was taken the next morning to the ward, and then Caiaphas said that we cannot go into the hall of the Gentiles or we'll be unclean, and we will not be able to take on the Passover tonight. So how is it they have a Passover one day and Christ had a Passover another day? Now you're starting to understand. Christ was on the Most High's clock. He wasn't on the clock that happened when Antiochus Epiphanes came in. The disciples were on a different clock. And the house that they actually had the Passover at, that was a community that was on the correct clock. The same way you got all the Hebrews today, all these different groups following different days. So we're going into the 3 days and 3 nights to get the understanding of that, because we know that there's some distortion in how they're teaching it. I want to show you all this. Matter of fact, I can bring it to you here. As you can see here, make sure you can see here. When you look right here where it says day, that word day is grayed out. And we looked in our concordance. And that word day is not there. That word week is 4-5-21, which is Sabbath. which is the same as this word right here, 4521 Sabbath. So we're doing the research in the Greek because we understand when the Romans came on the scene, they did everything to try to have you believe in the Sunday worship. So that's the next stage we're taking. But beyond any shadow of a doubt, we have the holy days right, according to the right calendar. Beyond any shadow of a doubt. And here's an example how to do it. Let's go to Leviticus 23.
It's Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1.
Read.
And the Most High Ahiah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
And say unto them, concerning the feast of the Most High Ahiah,
concerning the feast of the Most High,
which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
Even these are my feasts. Go ahead.
6 days shall work be done.
6 days shall work be done.
But the seventh is the Sabbath of rest.
But the seventh is the what?
Is the Sabbath of rest.
But the seventh is the Sabbath of rest. Go ahead.
In holy convocation ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Most High Ahiah in all your dwellings.
Go ahead.
These are the feasts of the Most High Ahiah, even holy convocations which ye shall proclaim in their seasons, and the 14th day of the first month.
Now let's go into the second week. The 14th day of the first month is what?
At evening is the Most High Ahiah's Passover.
That's the second Sabbath of the new year. Flawlessly, 14 days from the beginning of the year. The 364-day year. It's that simple. It's not after a moon. All right? And you follow this pattern, you can get all the holy days throughout the year flawlessly. Now, one other thing. Some people might ask, well, what about the moons then? It say new moons. Well, have you went into the Hebrew? Look at this. I need you to go to Genesis 37 and 9.
Oh, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 37, verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me.
Now, when you see the word moon, what Hebrew word do you have there for moon?
Yerach.
Give him the Hebrew number.
H 3394.
And what word is it?
Yerach.
Yerach, which means moon. Now let's get new moon. Don't forget, 3394 is what a moon is. Let's get new moon when it comes to the holy day, new moon. And let's see what that gives us. Let's go to 1 Samuel 20 and 5.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 20, verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat, but let me go that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at evening.
Hold up now. And I need you to get, you ready? I need you to get the Hebrew word for moon right there.
This is H2320. The Hebrew word is Chadash.
Chadash, an entirely different word. And what do Chadash means?
Chadash is the new moon. By implication, month.
By implication, what?
A month.
The new month. There's 4 new months in a year that brings in a season. It's before the month comes in. It have nothing to do with the moon. It's new month. So you cannot follow phases of the moon. It's new month. An entirely different word when you go into the Hebrew. All right? And when it goes to the new, when people say, well, we need to deal with the moon for this and for that, nah. Can't do it. All right? Now, I know some out there who've been following these different holy days will begin to extrapolate or take part of this lesson or try to break down part of this lesson. Only thing I ask, if you don't believe what we're saying, don't extrapolate and try to take pieces and bits. Show the whole thing. Okay? Show the whole thing. Because you can extrapolate and then try to explain, try to claim you're explaining what we said here. I want to make it clear. We just want to make sure that we're on the right days according to the Most High, opposed to the ignorance that have been imposed on us for years from the Gentiles. The Most High is perfect in his Sabbaths. He got 52 of them per year, right on a dime. The second one is the Passover. Don't get no simpler than that. I don't got to go outside and look at what the moon is doing. Maybe the moon is spinning left. Maybe it's spinning right. I don't got nothing to do with that. Maybe it's slithering a little bit. Hey, you can do that. I know that the beginning of the year starts when there's equal day, equal night. Boom. That's the last day of the year. When the sun go down, I'm into the new year. Now, of course I have to give you a date of when that will start. And you guess what? The new year always come in on the first day of the week. Ain't that sweet? That's nice, ain't it? So, let me give you the new year for this year. March 17th. March 17th is the new year. And you can, and when you go to the second Sabbath, it's the Sabbath. Friday sundown, the second Sabbath. Friday sundown. That's simple. That's Passover. Don't get any easier than that. And if you want to know how they calculate it, you're going to see it on our website. And also the day before that, the 16th, equal day, equal night. The day before that. Okay? Any questions?
Does it matter where you are on this planet?
It doesn't matter where you are because it's equal day and night wherever it comes in all over the earth. But we just use Jerusalem coordinates and Mount Sinai coordinates. And the site we go to, you can actually put the coordinates for where the Most High was speaking to us at. You can go to Sinai, you can go to Jerusalem. We put in Jerusalem because we know the sun rise in that area.
So you said there's only 9 parts to the day and night, right? 18 parts, I think.
It's 18 parts altogether.
So how do you count the parts? Like, how do you know which part you're in?
Yeah.
80 minutes?
80 minutes per part.
Starting from, like, what, the sun coming up? Or?
Starting from the sun is 80 minutes per. But you know the evening brings in the day. But when the sun comes up, it's 80 minutes per.
Okay.
80 minutes per part. Instead of 60-minute intervals, it was 80-minute intervals.
Oh yeah, was one of those, one of the months, was it 12 parts in the day and 6 parts in the night? Was that one of them?
Yeah.
So what month was that? Because I remember Christ had said it to somebody. He said, don't you know, like it's 12 parts in a day.
Well, I got to look into that. Yeah. We got it all written down here. We can go into that, separate from the brothers and sisters here. Exactly. Now you see how they can give you some understanding of when Christ was talking about what we were in.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got all the parts written down, right? Here you go. Here you go. All right. Let's open it up for questions. So, I'm glad we was able to do this, because with the lunar people, they've been going all over the place, switching their Sabbaths every other month and all types of stuff. And the Most High is total order. The cycle is 7, 7, 7. No problem. There's no time you got to wait and all that and then come back and start counting 7 again. You have to worry about that. Yeah.
I had a question based on like when the so-called eclipse happened, right? What do that mean? Like when the sun and the moon come together that day at the so-called eclipse?
Well, that's a sign in heaven.
Oh, okay.
But the Most High says that we cannot be dismayed at the signs of heaven. There is a number of eclipses that will happen before the new creation. But we're not supposed to go into that.
Yeah, I thought like that was a sign to the people, so that's a sign in heaven.
That's a sign in the heavens.
Okay.
Yeah. It tell you in the book of Chronicles, Issachar had the spirit to be able to read the luminaries in communication of what the Most High was saying to man, or to tell us when to do certain things. They had that understanding. As a matter of fact, when they came over to the Americas, they built the construct similar to what the pyramids are, which is actually a time grid. But they will never tell the population what's really that time stamp is. And then eventually the Mayans went off too. The demons started taking them way off because they had knowledge of the stars. Next thing you know, you had ships coming down and they were operating with fallen gods and angels and all that. And I want to put that out there for those who missed it earlier. Beyond any shadow of a doubt, doing the research and all that, Hermes is Azazel. Remember that pagan came on the show and said that he worshiped Hermes? That's Azazel. Osiris is Azazel. And they even had, let me tell you, it's information out there that the elite go there. They go into the pyramids and they do some type of witchcraft, and the spirit takes them to the other side, under the pyramids, spiritually. And they get information of technology and all that from Azazel, the fallen angel. They communicate with this demon that fell from the beginning. They call him the father of gods. He's Osiris. That was sitting up there with all that stuff on, the giant, and it was little people in front of him. That's him. He had many names: Hermes, Osiris, Azazel.
Oh, so by them distorting time, did they understand that would probably give them a little more time to achieve what they've been doing now?
Well, they know that they can't slow up the time. They know that they can't slow up the time, but what they were hoping is that we go off to the point that the Most High would allow them to destroy us.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just want, you understand?
Yeah.
They were just hoping that if they could separate it from our God long enough, that the Most High would allow them to just get rid of us. And to some degree, it's been working. All right, let me open this up for questions real quick here. And then I can yield until tomorrow. Of course, again, the lesson is not done. We have a lot of research to do to finish. And I'm putting that out there right now. But this is to be continued with more information. But I think that Brother Jermaine in Florida, and we're going to call him because he got the spirit going in it to begin us going into this. Someone asked, can I say what year we're in? When you go into the 12 parts, it seems like we're in what? I know we're 8 years. We're about 7 to 8 years off. Exactly. We are about 2004 from the time of Christ. Around 2004, 2005. No later than 2005. They did a fake millennium in the year 2000. How do you know this? Because, again, we did a full lesson on it. You can probably find it here on one of the archives. But the guy that proclaimed that Christ should be killed, which was Herod, history have him die in 4 BC. Well, how could he die 4 years before Christ was born and be the one telling the wise men to go find it? They go 4 years right there. All right, he died, and he died a year after he killed the children 2 years back. So that's 7 years. That's 2 years for 2 years back, and that's another year. He died a year later. So that's 7 years. And instead of them going from 1 BC to 0 to 1 AD, they went straight from 1 BC to 1 AD with no 0. So you're looking 7 to 8 years. All right, so we're actually in 2004. When you look at how old the earth is, you're looking at, you got 10 parts up to Christ. 10 parts up to Christ. Then you got 2,000. That's 12,004 years. That's how old the whole thing is. 12,004 years. That's simple. It's broken down in 10 parts. 10 parts up to Christ. 2 parts, 4 years. That's simple. 12,004 years. All right. Okay, let's see here. Huh? All right. The years start early in the morning on Sunday every year, on so-called Sunday every year. Someone asked me, what is the name of the months? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The Most High never gave it a name. He gave it numbers. Okay? So you come into the Hebrew class, learn from 1 to 12, you got the months. All right? What we got here? No, there's 18 parts. There's 18 parts. So it's equivalent to about an hour and 20 minutes. Hour and 20 minutes. It's equivalent to an hour and 20 minutes, which will link in, when you do that, it'll link into 24 hours. When you do the math. All right? Oh, Izzy, how you doing? He says this is going to shake. Oh, yeah. I think brothers and sisters all over the place are going to go back and look at that original calendar and going to start following the holy days based on that calendar from the beginning, which we had from the beginning before the Romans came in. That's groundbreaking. Now, we don't got to look at nothing that the Jewish people do. All right? Well, like I'm saying, we're going into when he rose, on whether or not that was a Sabbath or a holy day Sabbath. That's the part we're going into now. We're at that part of the study. All right? You will have that soon. We'll have a separate lesson strictly for that. March 17th brings in the new year. But you know the evening and the morning is the first day. So when the sun go down on that Saturday before the new year come in, you're officially going into the new year? You understand? Good question. We're going to give you the dates of Purim. All the holy days we're going to give you. Y'all have them tomorrow. Someone says, what? Keter definition mentions Ahia and how Jewish uses one. Why is it included with Yahweh with all the other gods? Well, because the Jewish people know our God. That's why. They know our God. It's no secret to them. All right? But all in all, I know the origin and the name in Hebrew of their God. And I know what the Most High told us in Hebrew his name was. So I'm not going to reject the Most High because Jewish people are using his name or hiding his name from the population and using it for themselves. All right? Somebody asked me, could I look at something? I think it's, yeah, I've heard of moringa. Some brother just sent me the moringa, the miracle tree. I've heard of moringa. That's some real good stuff. I'll favorite that so others can see it. What's next here? For those who are unable to flee Babylon prior to when things happen, how should we conduct ourselves? 1 Peter 2:19 tells us to suffer wrongfully for doing right. I'm a firm believer that the Most High, that a way will be made. But for those that are back, that are following the Most High, whatever happens, whether it's something happened to you there or something happened to us some other place, if we die for righteousness' sake, it's a great reward. All right? So, just continue to do what's right. We're going to set up a way in which brothers and sisters can do some work over there that can probably help them in the long run. So I can't talk about that right now, but you will have some information, some directional information very soon on that. Let's see here. Very interesting. You mentioned that the moon is, well, it's feminine. I remember being told as a young girl our womanly cycles were controlled by the moon every 28 days. That's interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, don't they have, the moon have a 7, didn't y'all read it, they have 7-day cycles?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
How is it the pyramid is a time capsule? Well, when I say the pyramid, the Great Pyramid is actually a measurement tool also of a time space. From the chasms it has within there, each what you would call what they call that from arm to arm. Each cubit is a time stamp. Each cubit is a time stamp of years. And that particular pyramid was built by angels, beyond any shadow of a doubt. And all these brothers that's dealing with Africanism and dealing with all these different gods, the Anunnaki and all that, they follow in fallen angels and in Azazel. All these Egyptologists and all that, they're following fallen angels and Azazel. What reference? I'm going to make sure all the references are on our page, so you don't have to worry about that. Can you get John 3 and 13? Well, I'm not going to, someone that says if Enoch ascended into heaven, I can't say if Enoch ascended into heaven. He did ascend into heaven. Let's go to John 3 and 13. Answer the question.
St. John chapter 3, verse 13.
Go ahead. And so did Elijah, or Elias. He did it too. Read it.
And no man have ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven.
When you do the precepts, this linking into him descending and ascending. So you have to link in the precepts. It's talking about him going into the belly of the earth, taking full power and ascending before the throne, shedding blood on the heavenly tabernacle. But that is a good question. When you link the precepts, it's not just speaking of his ascension. It also links to his descension. No one have went into hell and ascended. Okay? Good question, though. Let's see here. Who else we have here? I think we're past the time. I know Gabar have to go in a second. 1 second here. The first day of 2012, March 17th. Yes, that's the first day of the calendar year. What is the eagle with the 12 feathered wings and the 3 heads? Okay, that's speaking of the Edomites. That's speaking of the Greeks, later the Romans. The feathers, the 12 feathers, it's talking about the Caesars. We're going to do a lesson on that soon. That's speaking of the Esau's empire over the Romans and the 12 Caesars of Rome. I understand Zechariah 14 and 12 has been taught as being nuclear fallout, considering verse 13. Is it possible that this passage is talking about walking dead zombies? Please explain. Let's read it. Zechariah 14 and 12.
Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12.
Really, to me, as far as I'm concerned about this zombie thing, I think the thing is utterly ridiculous. It's made up through government to have you accept the population walking around drugged up out of their minds. And they need us in that state so that when cops come, under law, they can execute people and say that they was down, they encountered a zombie. It's just more reasons for engagement. That's all it is. There's no such thing as no zombie. You notice now with this new, going on a lower level, with this new garbage bill they talking about in the United States, they're pushing for more medication for people. That when people have these ideas against government or whatever the case is, they need medication. Well, the medication is going to make them psychotic and crazy, out of their minds. That's the whole point of the medication. So it's going to be many facets to this zombie garbage. It's just a reason for government to engage you. Ain't no zombies. But let's read the scripture. Zechariah 14 and 12. Read the 13th verse.
And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor.
You don't need zombies for that to happen. That's going on right now. People are fighting their own neighbors right now. All right, so what's the next one here?
He said in their records, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi will be in those areas. What about the rest of the other tribes?
Well, some of the tribes will be with Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but not in mass number. The Bible tells us that the Most High must bring Judah together first so that the other tribes don't magnify themselves against them. Why? The other tribes are used to being together. They're used to operating together. So if they all came together, they would actually have the authority over Judah, who are not used to being together. So the Most High is going to have them there first, and then the other tribes are going to come. All right?
So,
what's next?
I'll read this real quick.
Yeah.
This is Zechariah 12 and 7. It says, the Most High, Ahiah, shall save the tents of Judah first.
He shall save the tents of Judah first,
that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah.
So Jerusalem don't magnify itself against Judah. Okay? And that's clear. To understand, the first month, first of all, the top of the first month, those extra 4 days out of the year, those are what you would call new months. All right? They're holy days bringing in the seasons, or to signify a season. Those are new months or Sabbaths. So when the seasons change, holy day. And there's a point. You got 30 days for the first month, 30 days for the second month, 31 days for the third month. On that 31st day, Sabbath. You got 30, 30, then the next 31, that extra 1 day, Sabbath. 30, 30, 31, that extra day, Sabbath. On and on and on, all around the clock. That you got 4 Sabbaths a year, which are the new months. Okay? It's that simple. Someone asked, did we see Alex Jones on CNN? Hey, they stirring it up now. They stirring it up. It's time to take the guns. And that's deep, because I think that goes into the scripture they were talking about, neighbor against neighbor. Because the criminals ain't going to give up their guns. So the normal population of law-abiding citizens, they're the ones that's going to be taken through this. And I'm seeing how some of the cops are stomping the brains out of young boys right now, just stomping their heads all in the streets and all that. It's wild. Anyway. Okay, Sister Binyasha Allah, we will say a prayer. You say you're dealing with a lot of my 501c3 Freemasonry field job. Oh my goodness. We're going to put the whole time stamp on the site and the holy days on the site. So you'll have them. All right? Well, I'm sorry, Gabar, that I went into your time, but I really needed to get a lot of this out. Okay, I had to get a lot of this out, so I'm about to yield. I hope this brings some resolve in a lot of areas concerning the holy days going forward. I know it's a relief off of me. Okay. In a nutshell, you got 30 days all through the year, but at the change of seasons, there's an extra interval for each season. So there's 4 extra days for change of seasons, which are holy days. Okay? It's that simple. I don't know how clear you can see this, but that's basically the cycle there. That's the cycle. But we'll make sure that diagram is on where you can see it and count yourself also. Okay, I guess I'll yield. I mean, what are y'all looking at? Someone said that I see the bishop that laid a sheet over somebody and laid on him. He's really anointing, huh? He's doing that's a power anointment right there. And Lex Will, you are correct with the moon being feminine. The female god Alat that was worshipped in Persian mythology before Islam. Absolutely. And you notice they worship with the crescent moon. That's the goddess that they're worshiping. Have nothing to do with the Most High. Lex Will is he's right on point with that. Someone asked, do you think the 4 beasts in Revelations 4 have any correlation to the division of tribes in Christ's kingdom? I haven't seen any precepts that told me of such, so I would have to go with the precepts for that, or it'll just be philosophy. Someone said a bishop placed a sheet on top of 2 men and laid on them. Can you explain where Mary's token of virginity was? I don't understand the question. The token of virginity is usually where all women tokens of virginity be when they marry. I don't understand the question. Maybe you can give me some understanding. There was a Hebrew marriage. When you read, I think I know what you're saying now. We read Matthew, the 1st chapter, when you go, the angel told him to take to him his wife, to go through with it. Okay? And Sister Marie, you're right on with that. With the part of 7 ways, the Most High's number 7. I'll answer 2 more questions and I'll have to pray out with you all. Somebody asked, can I explain the Welling Wall? Yeah. They believe that there's a jinn or a genie or a demon that they can put their wishes in the wall and get their wishes fulfilled in Jerusalem. It's a demon they're dealing with. Just like they go to the rock in Mecca. The Welling Wall is similar to that. All right. Someone asked, Psalms 55 and 1, precepts Acts 3 and 1 support 80-minute blocks with Peter and John praying in the 9th hour. You're right on point. In Exodus, the 30th chapter, which talks about the sweet cannabis, does it mean marijuana? The sweet calamus. That's calamus, not cannabis. That's the sweet calamus. All right. Lex Will says, thinking people can leave using work today, pay today, and travel city by city south. Someone asked, is Christ's birthday still around the time of April? Well, we're going to look at that too. Now we're going into the times. No, the first day of the year is not on a Sabbath. The first day of the year always come on the first day of the week. And it always ends on a Sabbath. See that? That's how the Most High total completion. He started on the first day, ended on the 7th day. So they're going to always come in on the first day, and the last day of the year will always be a Sabbath. Total completion. Okay? Good question. Okay, any other additional questions? We will drop a calendar. It's not too late to get into the academy. Okay? Send an email. We'll give you all the back information, and that can get you up to date within a few days, because we're only what? It's only the 4th weekend. So we have 2 months and an extra lesson. All right. Okay, we'll check our email. We'll check the email. Lex, send an email. Send an email, Lex. Okay, well, thank you, bless you, and I wish I can stay on, but I have to go. May the Most High be with you, and Elder and Brother Gabar will be on shortly, okay? Shalom.
Shalom.
And if you would like to join the academy, send an email. We'll make sure you get it. Bless you and thank you for your time, and you all have a blessed Sabbath. Shalom.